since its publication. The point is that's a book, a fairy tale in the real world. We have wars, unfortunately, so let's prevent that. So that's the heart of his book. So welcome, Jared. Are you there? Hello? Can we hear Jared? Where's Jared? Hello?
Hello. Are we on?
Oh, there's Jared.
All
Jared,
right.
your book
Thank you for having
is
me.
brilliant. Congratulations on the rave reviews. I would like to, for you to tell us what was your inspiration behind the crafting of your novel.
Yeah. So I grew up reading superhero comics, reading Ray Bradbury and Stephen King, and watching slasher films with like Freddy and Jason. And I also have degrees in religious studies and psychology. I'm very interested in group behavior, specifically when people don't actually work. Was very interested in conflict resolution. And so when I was writing this book, I kind of try to combine these interests together. We have this world with the haves and the have-nots. In my world, the haves are superpowered and they oppress the have-nots who are powerless. And this creates an interesting dynamic because generally when we talk about haves and have-nots, we're talking about like differences between classes, differences with races, sexes, and you get this division from that. I really feel that from the psychology that I studied, I drew a lot with the Lord of the Flies kind of inspired study where they put a bunch of kids on an island, or they weren't really on an island, that was Lord of the Flies. They put a bunch of kids in a camp and they separated them based on something really abstract, like it's just maybe the different hair color. And so you've got these two kids groups on either side, and they're having to figure out how to work, right? And they're working separately because they're differentiated and they don't like each other. They're doing things in competition. To get them to work together, they had to find a common goal. And that's what the researchers did, is they put the superordinate goal there. So in my book, we have these groups that are different. This one group is being oppressed by the other, but there's an event that occurs and it requires both of them to have to work together.
Wow. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Unity. Don't want to be divided. So when did you write the book?
I actually wrote it in 2013 as a graphic novel. It was quite different then. One of my good friends who was going to do the art, he's a drummer in a band, and he was touring the world and never got around to doing the art. So I decided, I'm going to write this as a novel. And I began writing it probably 2016. And then I finished around 2018 with that first really decent draft where I started looking at, now it's time to look at publishing.
Wow. Well, congratulations, Jared, on the book. And we thank you very much for coming here tonight.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, now I'm sure we all want to have a happy ending tomorrow night. And I'm not talking about Stormy Daniels. Look at the news. We see the divisiveness tearing this country apart. We're going to all work together to achieve a happy ending for California and America. Don't you agree? We need unity, that is for sure. Here to start off the plan for how to get this done, let's bring in the president of Yes California, Marcus Ruiz Evans. Before I do, let me just tell you, Marcus wrote a book too. He largely started this Cali exit movement. He is the president of Yes California, which is YesCA, and they have a ballot initiative that just came out regarding California independence. The ballot initiative will be about gathering enough signatures to put forth to the initiative, which will start the process towards California independence. Yay! I sound like Oprah. Woo! So without further ado, please welcome Marcus Ruiz Evans. Yay! Hi, Marcus. How are you?
Great, great. Thank you for letting me be here. It's an awesome first event for the Citizens for American Liberation Political Action Committee.
It sounds so good. Doesn't it sound so good?
It does. CAL-PAC. How can you go wrong with that?
And you said it so quickly. It must have been that coffee you had before. You said it so.
Oh, yeah. You always got to run hot. And I want to say thanks to everybody who came out. Christian Egeslaw, the Brexit campaign manager who agreed to come out. Mike Feinstein, co-founder of the Green Party. Jim Wunderman of the Bay Area Council, who was considering coming out. Jeremy Zogby of Zogby Polling. Richard Kreitner was almost willing to come out here, and F.H. Buckley might be here. So I want to say thank you to everybody and all the big names who are willing to come out.
Oh, fantastic. So Marcus, tell us a little bit about your organization and what you guys are doing for California independence, and tell us a bit about that ballot initiative.
Yes, California got started in 2014. I started the movement with the book California's Next Century in 2012. The first article about California acting like a nation was by Tom Elias, covering that book in 2013. Yes, California formed around 2014, opposing Tim Draper's plan to split California into 6 states. We got a fair amount of coverage, and then when Donald Trump won the election in 2016, everything we'd been saying for years became very prescient. We'd been saying these things since 2014, 2015, and through 2016. Everybody laughed at us. Suddenly Trump got elected. Everything we'd been predicting happened. People weren't smiling anymore. We got really big, really fast. And really,
I think your audio's gone, Marcus.
Yes, I'm sorry. Apologize. My phone is blowing up with people asking about the YouTube. Recently, we got a initiative approved by the California government to collect signatures, about 650,000. We have till February of the next year to collect those signatures. We think that the election is either going to result in Trump winning and that terrifying Californians, or chaos across the scene. And whenever there's chaos in America, Californians come to the life ring or life vest that we call Cal Exit. So we think big growth. We had big growth in 2016. This time we have the initiative filed before the election. So we're already ready to go. And Independent California just printed out 5,000 copies of the petition. We have the petitions ready to go. We have one ready and filed. And yes, California is now focusing on media outreach and letting Independent California focus on the grassroots activism.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Marcus, you're doing it. It's fantastic.
We're trying. And frankly, with people like Joe, I just want to take a second to commend Joe and Lou. They only got into the movement a few months ago, and already they're doing big things and leading it in big ways. Now, there's many members and there's many leaders and many people are doing different things, but this is success. The movement isn't owned by any one person. It belongs to you. If you are a Californian and you believe that we need to do this, and you believe that we could be a nation or better off independent, jump in, do whatever you think. I told Joe that 3 months ago, and he's got a PAC up and running with the largest summit of secessionists since the Abbeville Institute conference a few years ago. It's huge.
Fantastic. That's amazing. You've got to have action. Otherwise talk's cheap. You've got to have legs, you get into it.
It's activism.
It is activism. Thank you very much, Marcus. That was great. Give Marcus a round of applause. Anyway, I would like to now turn to our attention to Independent California, or IC. So Independent California is working with YesCA on the ballot initiative, which is great. YesCA got it written and through the government and their government process. And Independent California is getting Californians to sign it. That's the basic thing we got to get. So IC is also building chapters all over California, and we want to encourage people out there to join Independent California. So get out there and do that. I would now like to introduce to you from Independent California, and he is Hal, Lohr, and Shankar Singer. Are you there, Hal and Shankar? Are you there?
Yes, we are.
Can we hear you? Good evening and welcome, guys.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Looking good. How can you tell us a bit about the initiative?
All right. The initiative, as it is, this initiative is to place a ballot measure on the 2024 ballot that would require that if it passes, if the California voters so choose, will create a commission in the government in Sacramento to basically explore independence for the state of California.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, that's great. It's just got to take time. All these things take time. So now, Shankar, could you please share with us about the building the chapters, please? I think you'll be good about talking about that.
Certainly, Jason. By the way, Jason, you're a pretty funny guy, dude. I know I had it on mute, but
I'm glad you're laughing on the inside.
Yeah, so chapter
building. I see smiles, by the way, with all these masks on. I can actually see people's smiles again. When you're smiling, when you're smiling, California smiles with you. Okay, sorry, go for it.
No, you're right. I mean, the masks. I mean, this whole COVID thing is put a damper on everything, on every aspect of our lives, including getting signatures for an initiative and building chapters. I mean, you have people that are really apprehensive about going out and collecting signatures, talking to people with this pandemic going on, and so it was quite the challenge to try to get the timing down on when it would be decent enough for us to go out and start forming these chapters and start gathering signatures. So a couple of good things happened with that. So we have about 16 chapters now, and honestly, I stopped trying at I think 8 chapters. I stopped trying to get chapters because we didn't have a petition yet. We're still waiting for it, and now we've got it. It's printed up. We're going to be sending them out after Wednesday. Wednesday is a chapter meeting, the second or third official chapter meeting where I actually have petitions to mail out to everybody. That's happening Wednesday. So finally, we get to send that out, and we also have another bit of good news is that after much, hunting down, getting a hold of someone up in the legislative and initiative office in Sacramento, we got the okay, or the instructions on how to do an 8.5 by 11 petition. So we're going to have that available up on our website, and now anybody can just download it, print it out, sign it, and then mail it in. So no COVID, no need to worry about going out and catching anything. You can print it and sign it and mail it in. Not a lot of initiatives know about that, I don't think, which sucks for them. But if they do a little bit of legwork, they'll find out that there is that option that the state is providing, especially now with this pandemic. So yeah, chapters up and down from San Diego all the way up to I think the farthest north one is Chico, and they're just I'm not sure if they see our website or see our Facebook or I've got to find out how they actually come aboard, but I just get emails like at least 2 or 3 a week, and this is not even trying. Hey, I'd like to form a chapter here in my city. What do I need to do? So if you're interested in becoming a chapter leader for Cal Exit, just go ahead and shoot me an email or go to www.independentca.org and you'll find all the info up there. Also, I know that guy Jared isn't on here anymore, but he was mentioning a graphic novel. He had his book based on a graphic novel. It sucks that he's not on here. I wanted to ask him if he's read the Cal Exit graphic novel, just because we know that author. We started out on the wrong foot, but we ended up becoming really good friends at the end. But that is a great comic book too. Check it out if you guys have the chance.
The other thing that we need to mention as well is that these chapters, once formed, will be active after the initiative process.
Oh yeah.
These are going to be used for basically for the California independence movement as bases for activism up and down California long after this initiative. So this gives us local boots on the ground throughout California, basically for activism regarding all kinds of California values.
Right. So after this initiative is through, we have another initiative coming out for a California military, which is in the talks, and then after that, we are resubmitting the Black Lives Matter Assembly bill that was gutted by our state assembly and then passed, which then BLM had to unendorse. But so we're going to resubmit the original bill in its original format, and it's such a no-brainer for us Californians that everybody wants this to happen, this police reform. So we're going to put it back, how it originally was, and this is all within the next. Oh man, I'm going to say next summer would be the second initiative, and then probably the following summer after that would be Black Lives Matter initiative. I hope not. I hope it's sooner than that, but we'll see.
Well, thanks, guys. That's very, very informative. Thank you, Hal.
Thank you.
And Shankar. Is that how you pronounce it? Shankar. It's a great name. Shankar. Sounds like a guru. Anyway, you're great, guys. Thanks very much for sharing all that information. It's very important. Up next, we have podcaster and California National Party Ambassador Forbes West. Yes, Forbes is from CNP, California National Party, a political party aimed at California independence. There's that word again. CNP is trying to gain stream and get full legitimacy in 2022. We want to promote CNP in everyone's local area and encourage people to not only vote CNP, but to get involved in the party. Forbes also co-hosts a podcast for CNP, and they've had some pretty big guests, including the Cuban ambassador to the US. That would have been interesting. So we would like to promo their podcast too tonight. So Forbes, thanks for joining us. Are you there, Forbes?
Yes, thank you so much. This is very fun. I appreciate you emceeing this, Chyson. And we have a Free the Bear podcast, which is kind of the official voice of the California National Party. And what we're doing with the California National Party is that we are trying to provide an alternative to the one-party state that is California under the Democrats. We want to be basically what, not the GOP is, but basically we want to be a left alternative to what is happening in Sacramento. And we want to show that, again, California nationalists and people who believe in independence want to have an alternate way of governing California, as opposed to the kind of corporate established Democrats that are currently in charge in Sacramento.
Well, the corporations are running the world these days, aren't they?
Yeah, that's very, very true. And again, it's a very sad state of affairs. And we don't want to have California turn into Chicago. We want to have a very strong alternative to this kind of, again, the Pelosi Democrats and the other types that are running our state at the moment. And we want to provide a really kind of good alternative by setting up a party that will, again, right now what we're trying to do is register voters to become California National Party members so that we can become an official party.
Wow. That's so informative. Is there anything else you'd like to promote about yourself or tell the people out there what they should be doing?
Well, I mean, right now it's just the Free to Bear podcast with myself and my co-host, Bill Skog. That is a great resource for people to kind of learn the views of the California National Party, and also to kind of have just myself and Bill's kind of, let's say, unadulterated viewpoint about what's going on in the world. And so people come on, they can listen to us, and they can have a real kind of fun time about.
And they can also input as well and bring up and say their mind and say their piece.
Well, I mean, it's just, again, like, it's a way we have great guests on that come on. Again, like the Cuban ambassador, again, was fantastic. But we've also had people from Cascadaia. We've also had Theo Slater from the California National Party, who was a founder. And again, we have a lot of different voices to kind of extrapolate the point that something's very wrong here. And California, someone had used the term, like, California was kind of like a life preserver. We kind of like to think of California as like a lifeboat, and the United States is the Titanic. And we're basically kind of saying, like, come and join us on the lifeboats. Men, women, and children. Everyone.
There was the haves and the have-nots on that as well, wasn't there?
Well, that's a very true.
The real party was downstairs.
Yeah, again, we don't want to be all in steerage, so yeah, we want to get out of that.
Well, that's fantastic. Thanks, Forbes. That was excellent. Sounds good. Sounds amazing, actually. Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you.
Yes, communication permits progress. So, we all need to communicate through these mediums. So it's an old proverb: communication permits progress. So the more we communicate, the more we share ideas and bring the latest things to surface. This is how we raise the awareness and we raise the consciousness. And that's what, you can just get people doing things in their head, but when it comes from their heart, what comes from the heart touches people's hearts. And that's what makes people's really make change, I find, when people run with it. You can sell something, but unless they really get it in their head and they run with it and they believe it, then, they become the voice too, and the movement becomes stronger and clearer.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Anyway, I want you to take a moment here to have you all tonight to reflect on the fact that we have a full movement here for Cali Exit. Yay. We have the ballot initiative, the IC chapters political party gaining steam, and the podcasts. We've got Californians from all over the state joining forces to make California independence a reality. So we've got also a ballot initiative, activists taking to the streets, as we've been hearing tonight. So, and a political party and that podcast to get the word out. And now CAL-PAC to fund this movement. Thank goodness for you guys. It takes all of us to work together to make this happen. So we have all got to make this happen and make it a reality. So do the happy dance, everybody. Yay. So the happy dance, do the happy dance. I think we all should be doing the happy dance as a statement that it's going to be happening. So now we want to call on our friends to the north, Cascadaia, Oregon, and Washington, to check in and to see if they want secession too. So there's a lot going on, but it's not just California. Up next, we've got our friends to the north. Are you there? Hello.
We are indeed. How are you doing? I'd like
Yogi
to first say
and Jay. Yogi and Jay, you there?
Yogi and Brandon, actually. I'd like to first
Jay.
say Cascadaia Telecom, which is the.
What happened to Jay?
Jay is being supplemented by their partner Brandon today. So
Which one's Yogi?
I'm Yogi. Hello.
You're not just the average Yogi, are you?
Not just the average, smarter than the average bear, as they say.
I was going to say it. You said it.
I got it. I got you.
All righty.
I'd like to start by saying Cascadaia Telecom, which is a greeting by the indigenous people, the Duwamish people here, who were
Fantastic.
the stewards of this land initially. So I'd like to challenge everybody there to be aware of the indigenous people,
I like that.
whatever group you're from.
like
we
that.
include British Columbia as well, some parts of Idaho, some northern parts of California. We're more so defined not by political boundaries, but by the watersheds here. So Cascadia is a movement that began in the 1980s, not initially a political movement, but more so a place-based movement designed to connect the people on the land, and coming from a group of people that love the land that we live on.
So is that that's what it means to be a Cascadian?
That's definitely what it means to me. We're aware that this is the last area that was touched by colonialism. So we want to kind of break away some of those functions of colonialism and think of a newer way of life.
Great. Sounds great. Why are movements like Cascadia important, and why now?
Well, I think since people are becoming more aware, especially with the political climate of today, how disastrous globalization, capitalism, colonialism, all those concepts can be, people want to feel connected to something that feels better for them. We don't want to just use up all the resources and move on to somewhere else. This is our home, this is a connection that we care about. So I think movements where people can feel a closer connection to the people they're with, but also the land they live on is something everybody's looking toward.
Well, that's fantastic. So maybe I'll ask this question to your other friend who's got the mask on. Look at that. So what strategies do you think are most important moving forward?
I think it's a great question. Moving forward, there's a lot of different avenues to explore, and I think we've really enjoyed having the close connection that we do with a lot of the different California movements, because I think already California is showing a high degree of a lot of what we want to talk about, in the sense that they're starting chapters and looking at referendums and independence. I think that's all really great.
Loving the flag. I love seeing the flag. That's amazing.
Absolutely. All right. And I think, so then the next thing that we want to do is really explore this idea of bioregionalism. Cascadia is an idea that's rooted in bioregionalism, and that's basically just saying that our areas are better defined by our watersheds and by, the physical and geographic realities as well as the cultural and economic realities, rather than arbitrary state-based nation-state lines that quite often don't reflect the people, the place, or the land. And so rather than systems of disenfranchisement, we really want to be building systems that empower people, empower voices, empower communities, and that look at healthier and more democratic ways of living.
What a great answer. I find that any solution, any political plan or any ideology, at the end of the day, it has to serve people and give results, Otherwise, that's why people go crazy, because they're out of good faith, they're following the rules, following the system, but it's not serving them and it's not giving results. So, it always has to give results and service in the end. Otherwise, what's the point, So that's great, guys. Thank you, Cascadia. You guys are great. I love your background too. Look at that.
Thanks. And if anybody would like,
are you a DJ, mate, or something? You've got all the records. Is that records?
I think
books actually. We're at a bookstore right now.
Are you in a bookstore?
Yeah, Cascadians are known for being bibliophiles, so we gotta have books.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, if you want to learn more, CascadiaUnderground.org or DepartmentOfBioregion.org, and you'll find a lot more about us.
Fantastic, guys. Well, thank you. You both look great, and thanks for coming in.
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you.
So let's now go even further north, introducing our surprise guest panelists from the Alaska Independence Party. Mark Chyson, you are there. I spoke to you earlier. How are you, Mark? Mark is with the Alaskan Independence Party. They just wrapped up their first conference in 10 years. Mark is here to further drive the narrative that we all want out, but not because we are red or blue, but because we just don't see ourselves as Americans. Let's all welcome our surprise guest, Mark Chyson. Where are you, Mark?
Okay, can you hear me now?
There you are, finally.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
You're one of the first guys on here tonight. Very patient.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got the mute thing taken care of. Anyway, I'm the past chairman of the Alaskan Independence Party. I held the position for 7 years after our founder, Joe Vogler, was assassinated in the early 1990s. Right now, I'm still acting as an advisor to the party. And just to let everybody know, secession is not illegal. Alaska and Hawaii both are under a different statute and a different limitations than the people in the lower 48 are. We are covered under the Treaty of Non-Self-Governing Lands from the United Nations treaty that was signed and ratified by the United States Senate in 1947.
Wow.
Alaska and Hawaii were named by name as non-self-governing lands. Puerto Rico was in there, and so was Guam, and so was the Philippines. The Philippines accepted their independence at that time. Puerto Rico accepted a Commonwealth status, and Hawaii and Alaska were forced into statehood, and we were not equal states. That's one of the reasons the Alaskan Independence Party exists. We were founded as a group like you guys are doing now, as Alaskans for Independence. And since then, that was over in the early 70s, they became a political party in the 80s. And on our second time as a political party in the history of our party, we elected a governor for that, Walter J. Hickel. And in his inauguration address, he made the comment that maybe our founder, Joe Vogler, was correct. And if Alaska is not treated equally by the federal government, that we should, they could take a star off their flag. And the biggest thing with our party right now is not necessarily for independence, it's to have our option and have our legal vote, which the legal vote would entail a full equal statehood, independent, a Commonwealth status, or return to territorial status. And nobody wants to return to territorial status. There's a lot of talk about Commonwealth because you'd have all the protections of the federales, but none of the rules or the laws like Puerto Rico does. So when I joined the political party in 1990, we had 2,000 to 3,000 members. At our first convention that I attended in 1992, we had 4,000 members. The convention last year, after we have not been doing anything for 10 years, we now are pushing 20,000 members. And if you do the percentage-wise, we're more than 3%. We're a lot more than 3%. And the revolution of the United States was, we were able to go in and take out the British government with 3% of the people involved over with the independence movement.
Wow.
Well, anyway, we have had success, and even one of our candidates, he's running now for U.S. Senate. He's spent less than $1,000 on his campaign. He's in double digits in the polls, and it's going to be exciting to see what he gets as a final result. So we're not expecting him to win, but it's going to be nice to put a big dent over in both the Republicans and the Democrats up here. So if somebody wants to know more about the Alaskan Independence Party, our website is akip.org. Yeah, I'm the webmaster, or was the webmaster, but we have not updated it in 15 years, so it's a little dated. However, you still have lots of good history. You'll see that we have a list of all the presidents of the United States prior to the Constitution being ratified. We have the Magna Carta on there, the U.S. and Alaska state constitutions, as well as a lot of historical documents, and that is a very good source for it. While I was the chairman, I personally had contact with the various independence movements in pretty much every state. And what is also nice to notice is every province in Canada wants to get out of Ottawa as well. There's people all over the world that do not want globalism. They want to be able to determine their own self-pass and self-determination.
Indeed.
So have no problems with California exiting, have no problems with Cascadia exiting. I have no problems with the Confederacy exiting. It's what the people want in that area should be what happens.
Mark, it's interesting that Californians and Cascadians lean blue, but Alaska leans red. And it's interesting why you want independence.
We do not get treated as a fair shake by the federales. You know, there's only one state in the union where you're not allowed to own what's underneath your ground. Can you guess what state it is?
No, you tell us.
Alaska. You can't own oil or gas rights underneath your ground if you own it.
Incredible.
In Alaska, in the Soviet Union, at the height of communism, 97% of the land was controlled by the Soviet government.
Are you serious?
In Alaska, 99.7% of the land is owned and controlled by a government of one way, shape, or form, whether it be the federal government, the state government, the local government, or the Indian nations. They're not necessarily Indian nations, they're corporations up here. The Indians are corporate. They're not considered Indians like they have over in the lower 48. There's only one reservation in Alaska, and that's over in the Panhandle, but there were no peace treaties signed. Everything was signed over with the NILCA, the native lands claimed, or ANSCA, Alaska Native Land Claims Settlement, and that was passed under Carter and instituted under Reagan. So you see I'm going to show my shirt up here. This is the way that the federal government treats Alaska, and you can see from our shirt that rattlesnake is sucking up Alaska, and it's taking all our resources. It's taking all of our economy.
Like a vampire. Well, that was great, Mark. Thanks for sharing that. It's very informative. I'm sure it was for everybody else. And thank you very much for your input. So, well, it's time for some plugs and to call action. That's what it's all about. Action. The entire western seaboard from Alaska to California are fighting for independence. America and California, America and Washington and Oregon, America and Alaska are all going down different paths. That's true. It's not a novel idea to want to seek for better opportunities for one's country. The very foundation of this nation was founded on the same intentions of self-determination, just like Mark was talking about. The founding fathers of the United States met in secret to draft the Declaration of Independence. They were also facing division and different paths from their mother country. Not seeing ourselves as Americans is okay. It's just like a divorce. The kids will be fine. We'll all see each other at Christmas. Anyway, it's a nice way to look at it. All this is important, but we can't do it without your help, you guys out there. It takes all of us working together to make this a reality. We want to give everyone a chance to go around and plug their gigs too. Start from the top with Jared. Jared, how can people contact you and get their hands on your book?
All right. So this is my book. It's available on Amazon and any of your favorite bookstores online. I found it all over the place. My website is jaredkchapman.com. And I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all over the place. Make sure you put in Jared K. Chapman. There's a Jared Chapman, and he's an illustrator kids writer. That's not me.
Good that you mentioned that. Well, thanks, Jared. Now, Marcus, tell us how to get in contact with Yes California. Marcus, are you still there?
Yes. I'm sorry, my phone just will not stop.
You went and had another coffee, didn't you?
Want to be part of the conference. You can go to yescalifornia.org. That's yescalifornia.org, or Yes California on CalExit on Twitter, or Yes California on Facebook. Simply type in Yes California CalExit, and you'll see the options for the website, Twitter, and Facebook. We have about 30,000 people at Twitter, 40,000 people at Facebook, and 120,000 people on mass email. Recently, we sent out a mass email. We're pleased to do so about this. Collectively, the movement for Yes California CalExit, that's Yes California CalExit, is around 155,000 people across all social media platforms. Right now, we're asking everybody to sign the petition, download it or print it, or actually, Yes California is fully committed to telling everybody, you want CalExit to happen? Join Independent California, make a chapter, get that petition and get people signing it. And I don't want to hear it can't be done, because I was in Long Beach this weekend and 15 out of 17 people just walked up to us and started signing the paperwork. Californians are ready for this. So form a chapter, join IC, get that petition going, chapter, petition. And if you want more information, my email is marcus.ruiz.evans@gmail.com.
Well said, mate. That coffee certainly helped you, didn't it? You said that just like...
I've been at it for about 10 years.
That sounds great. Well, thanks, mate. Now, Hal and Shankar, where can people get more information about Independent California? Can you tell us all about that?
Go for it, Hal.
All right. We can be found on the internet at independentca.org. That's independentca.org. Or we can be found on Facebook at any one of a number of actual Independent California sites. If you put Independent California and your city where you are, you can likely find your a local chapter. I'm not sure how many members we have at the moment, but go there, www.independentca.org, and you will find us. Join us for California activism.
And thanks for that. And what about Forbes? Is he still? How can we get information about California National Party? Is that going to happen?
Yes, absolutely. So again, you can go on to californianational.party. You can see our website there. Also, again, if you want to go onto YouTube for our podcast with me and Bill, that's Free the Bear Podcast. Yeah, Free the Bear Podcast at YouTube. And also, we do have some articles. This is more connected to the Socialist Caucus of the California National Party, which I'm a part of. And you can find that at medium.com / red-bear-republic. So again, if you want to have a socialist side of the California National Party movement, you can find us there as well.
Thanks, Forbes. Thanks for that. Now, where's Yogi? Where can we get the more information regarding Cascadia? Hello? Your mic's gone.
Hold on. Are we? Can you hear us?
Start again.
Live.
All right, Brandon. Where can we get more information about Cascadia?
Anybody who's interested can find more information about Cascadia and the Cascadia bioregion at departmentofbioregion.org. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the usual culprits, and we'd love to talk more. Anybody can reach out at cascadia@departmentofbioregion.org if they'd like to contact us.
Great, thanks, guys. Now, Mark, tell us how to find more information about Alaska Independence Party.
Okay, the Alaskan Independence Party can be found online at akip.org. Contact links should be on the front page or under contact. They can get a hold of me or they can get a hold of Bob. Both our phone numbers are online. So.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thank you for all of you guys tonight. You've been very informative to all the listeners out there, and I've learned a lot tonight as well, so it's great. Knowledge is power. So finally, let's hear some closing words from CAL-PAC, Joe and Lou. Tell us what people can do to get involved. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you can reach us on our social at CA Liberation PAC.
And you can also find us on our webpage, and it's caliberation.org. Wow,
you guys are such a great couple, and we thank you very much for all for putting this together. You guys rock, and thanks. We appreciate your passion. I'm sure everybody out there will agree. Give you guys a round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
But that's great. Thank you. But we can't do any of this without you guys. It takes all of you, everybody.
It's
all of us.
We're unifying, and that's what happens when you get a common denominator, when people are in alignment with a similar kind of belief systems, and that's when it starts happening, because it builds power. And the more we talk about it, the more we believe it, because I believe what we think about comes about. Where attention goes, energy flows, and what you visualize, materialize. So whatever we're thinking about the most is in the process of becoming. So if we keep thinking about this is what will happen. It'll happen. It'll become a reality. So that's what I believe. So be careful what you wish for. So we're going to wish for this, and it'll become a reality eventually if enough people talk about it and enough people get behind it. And it'll be one day we'll be talking. I hope this is being recorded this evening, because this will be monumental. They'll look back and go, "Oh, look at the first Zoom thing they did." And it'll be monumental. Well, folks, this brings us to the end of the show. Oh, well, sounds like we've got the Brady Bunch here with all these, squares, everybody. What was it called? Not the Little House on the Prairie. Oh, the Waltons. Goodbye, Jim Bob. Good night, Mary Lou. All the little squares there. So we thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate you all. And also, I need to encourage you all one more time to please donate to this amazing movement to better California. I'm sure you agree. So we need the fertilizer for this to grow. A dream is like a tree, but we need the fertilizer. Even Barbara Streisand, who was Jewish, she said, money's like fertilizer. The more we spread around, the more we get. So we need the fertilizer to make this tree grow. And it takes time. When you plant a grape seed, you don't get wine. You don't get grapes for about 3 or 4 years. And then you've got to lay the wine down and get your first bottle of Beaujolais in about 5 or 6 years. So you've got to know that process. You can't get instant gratification. We're in a world today where all just swipe, and drive through the second window and bing on the microwave. It doesn't work that way when you look at the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. But man's kingdom takes time too, and things do take time. So we have to be patient with that. Isn't that true, everybody? Yes.
Hey, Jason, we lost your audio.
Unmute. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, you didn't miss much. I was just saying, did you get the part about thank you, everybody, and please stay tuned for the talk, the questions and answers with Adam Koshket, and much more immediately following this broadcast. So Adam's going to be coming. Kokesh is coming, and we're going to be having Q&A with him. But P.S., there'll be a bit of a break between this and the next segment. So there'll be a bit of a black screen or something like that you'll get. So, but just hang in there and it'll come back. So thank you very much. I'm Jason Thompson. You can check me out at jasonthompson.net. That's JASONTHOMPSON.net, not .com. Anyway, thank you very much. And thank you all for coming. And let's get California independent. It sounds good, doesn't it? The country California. Let's go to the country California. California, here I come. Anyway, that's enough for me, and stay tuned for the Q&A. Cheerio. So, Joe.
Okay, Jason, I think we're good. Let's go ahead and move into the
so there's no show. There's not going to be any little bzz there?
No, I think we'll have to do that in post.
Oh,
there you go.
Hello, there he is.
Hello.
The star of the show. Da, 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 da. Tell us a bit about you, star.
Well, Jason, for starters, my favorite part of that last segment with all of these incredible activists working for independence, one way or another, was when your mic got cut, because frankly, I was getting sick of hearing a Brit tell me as an American how to have a revolution. And I love what we have right now with people coming together. I love what we have as the inevitable progress of humanity and decentralization being manifest the way that we see in this general movement.
I must correct you though, I'm not a Brit.
Well, I sound like a Brit.
Well, it's just because I'm
just. Are you? Wait. Does that make it worse? Are you a colonist?
I see, old chap. It's rather lovely, isn't it? Actually, one of my characters is I do the Queen of England. If you look at my website, I impersonate the Queen. And it's very funny because my father and my sister have an Order of Australia, which is equivalent to Sir Elton John sort of type thing. But in Australia, I'm an Aussie, but I'm an educated Aussie. I speak well.
I gotta say, until COVID, yeah, you sound. Maybe I thought you were British because you sound a little bit smarter than I would have expected.
Well, one of my other characters I do is Steve Irwin. Oh, crikey, mate. Look at this fella here. Oh, it's beautiful, mate. But we don't all sound like that. Just as there's some people that sound very educated and American, and some people sound a bit like that family out of The Simpsons. That one with all the kids, the hillbillies. No offense.
Throw another shrimp on the bobby then. But being Australian used to be something of a point of pride of standing for rebellion until we have seen how far Australia has fallen.
I am appalled at what's going on in Australia at the moment. I'm appalled. I've been here for 10 years in California. As you see, I'm in Hollywood. I'm in West Hollywood. I'm a wee whore and wee ho, as they say. I'm not really a whore. But it's just incredible what's happening in my country. But I've been here for 10 years. I won the green card lottery and I came here with no job, no car, no house, not even a friend's couch. I'd had 3 bags, 2 of my costumes, 1 of my own life, and I'm still here. And I was going to become a citizen, but not with all this. I mean, my 10 years ran out this year. And so I just renewed my green card, but there's so much upheaval at the moment. So I'm just waiting on the citizen thing. But yes, I'm appalled at my country at the moment. It's becoming like fascist. And there's a comfortably numb. It's like put that Pink Floyd number on. Comfortably numb. It's like, what's going on? There's an apathy. But there's even an apathy in America. I couldn't believe it when I saw the election when.
But we're armed.
when the last party got in, and I couldn't believe that 40% didn't vote. I don't know, most people don't know it out there. I was talking to Joe about this, but in my country, there's one good thing about is that we get a fine if you don't vote. You have to vote. You don't have to make a decision. You can go to the polling booths on the day. You've got to tick your name off, and you can walk straight out and not make a decision. But most people just do make a decision because they're there. But at least the whole tribe has spoken, where you can tell, oops, 5% had the right not to make a decision, but they ticked their name off at the voting booth. That's the registry office. Then when you guys go to the polling booths, and then you have to tick your name off first, they look you up, and then you go and they give you your papers. So that's what we do too. But the ones that decide that they don't want to make a decision, that's their right, but they still got to tick their name off, which is what a democracy is. Democracy is a Greek word. It means the people's choice, the people speak. So when 40% of people don't speak, like in the last election, I think, is it really a democracy?
Well, I mean, it's even less than that when you look at how many Americans get to actually choose the president from among the pre-approved options put forth by the banking class.
The GOP guys, I don't get the GOP guys either. When I came to this country, I thought, everybody gets a popular vote, but then they go, oh, that was just fun for you guys, but now we're going to make the final little decision for you. The grown-ups are going to make the. That's why there's an apathy with voting, because people think, well, what's the point? I go vote for something, and then these little league GOP guys make the final decision. I don't get that either.
My main gig now, I want to say, unlike anybody else on your panel tonight, I'm the only one who has successfully seceded from the United States, as far as I know. So we're gonna tell the story of Gardenia here, and the story of Gardenian independence that is, of course, still in process. But as a podcaster, that's really my main gig right now. I'm the host of Adam versus the Man. My producer calls me the most censored man on the internet. Given you can look at my numbers of like subscribers and followers versus activity on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and I'm walking proof of shadow banning, as if you didn't know that was already a thing. And as the host of Adam versus the Man, as any podcaster, YouTuber, and despite the shadow ban, I've had some reasonable numerical success. I got 250,000 subs on YouTube and about 100 million views on my channel, and about 100 million on other people's channels.
Wow.
And now I do Adam versus the Man, which started in 2010 as a radio show on AM 1550 KIVA, more positive talk radio Albuquerque, and went independent after that. Built that YouTube channel up, got demonetized, got banned, unbanned. I think right now I have 2 strikes on my account. And by the way, I want to point this out for people about my recent experience with censorship on YouTube. Normally they lie or give you irresponsibly vague justifications for any answers against you. It violated our community guidelines. But they actually, on one of my recent videos called the big picture on COVID-19. And I gave my narrative, going back to February even. And they said, I got an email from YouTube that said, and this is well, let's see, I'm on my laptop here. I got my Twitter, I can pull this up. How your content violated the policy. YouTube doesn't allow content that explicitly disputes the efficacy of the World Health Organization or local health authorities' recommended guidance on social distancing and self-isolation that may lead people to act against that guidance. And it's funny because the main thing that I got called on, by the way, they said it was impersonation on the video. The main thing I got called on was the efficacy of the lockdowns, saying that the lockdowns were really a product of political manipulation rather than good policy. And that was the week before the weekend when the WHO changed their policy. But anyway, to the bigger point you were getting at, as a podcaster, sometimes I sensationalize my coverage, or I'm tempted, I should say. I don't give in to the temptation to sensationalize my coverage of Cheeto Jesus and the Kid Sniffer, or Cadet Bone Spurs and Creepy Joe are two likely candidates who might take the prize tomorrow. Unfortunately, Libertarian Jo Jorgensen, I would be happy if she cracks 5% and has a breakout year for the Libertarian Party. Of course, I'm a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party, and I'm proud to have endorsed Jo Jorgensen and a number of other libertarians, because as per the party statement of principles and my principles, libertarianism, it's not a political philosophy. It transcends left, right. It's ethics applied to politics, self-ownership, the non-aggression principle. And that's why I'm a localist. I believe in decentralization of government, taking government apart from the top down, getting it to the community level where it's voluntary, because a community is something that you choose to be a part of, where citizenship is something you tend to be forced into, or as in your case, perhaps, forced to choose from some ridiculously inefficient, absurd, arbitrary process based on illegitimate lines drawn on a map by politicians and circumstance of history. So the sooner that we can take government apart from the top down, we can restore the power of communities, the power of the people. Democracy literally means rule by the people. If you mean democracy as the majority get to vote and force their will on the majority through government, or on the minorities through government, we'll go, well, shit, democracy is really bad for minorities by definition. But that's not a very helpful definition. That's statism. That's the idea of forcing your views on people, being able to violate ethics if you have gone through some magical government voting whatever process that makes unethical and naturally unlawful things lawful. I also went to jail for a few months for civil disobedience and started writing this book when I was in jail. It is the ultimate manifestation or manifesto of ethical libertarianism. Excuse me, and you can get it for free in every digital format possible at thefreedomline.com, and from there you can find adverseoftheman.com.
Put that up again. Put that up again and make it clearer. Just hold it up.
Sure. There. Yeah. Let's see. Does it have the website there at the bottom?
Thefreedomline.com. Say it again. Yeah. Thefreedomline.com. You're very passionate, Adam. I love that. You are an active activist. You're very. I totally agree what you're saying about community. We've lost the community. You know, the Greeks started democracy, you know, and it was about community. It was about people want community. People want their tribe. People want local stuff. People want that. We've become disconnected. And when we can go to the moon and back, but we can't cross the street to see our neighbor. We've got wider freeways, but narrower viewpoints. We've got fancier homes, but more broken homes. We need to come together with people. Why do you think people, you know, events like Burning Man and stuff like that, even though it's a bit different what we're talking about, but they have things like one of their, you know, their policies, they have all these, you know, like 12 ideologies. And one of them is radical inclusion. You know, I like that, you know, radical inclusion. That's why people, they're attracted to these things, because the real world, we've lost the community. In fact, these Burning Man parties, I've never been to one, but they have these decompression parties, and that they have them because they feel such a connection that they're missing and they're starving, that they have to go back to their normal boring jobs or their normal well, which is not really serving them or giving them results.
Yeah.
So they freak out because something so
beautiful. Out of the norm is a powerful exercise in reminding you of what's possible and challenging your premises.
Well, people want to connect. That's why there was all that, you know, back in, you know, the days when they had all the, you know, ecstasy and stuff like that on weekends. People would leave their 9-to-5 jobs and they'd want to connect, even though they did it in that way. But underneath, people want to connect. They want a community. They don't want these big multinational, big companies running everything and telling us, you know, what to do. And, you know, and in good faith, the young ones are born into this world and they follow the system. They follow the recipe. But at the end, it's like making a recipe in a book. You follow looking at the pictures, but at the end it doesn't look like the picture. So, you know, they're following the recipe, but it's not giving results and serving them. So this is why people are frustrated. And that's why there's a big opioid problem in this country as an outsider looking in, you know, because people are, deeply pressed with unrealistic demands. That's what the inevitable part of depression is, I believe, is being deeply pressed with unrealistic demands. So it's not serving you. And if you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome, what do you call that? Crazy. So I hear what you're saying, Adam, and I really love it. But we've got a question. Just moving on.
I want to make, if I may make a couple of points before we take questions. Is it just you and I for an hour? We got 45 minutes.
There's other people all watching us, and there's some. Joe's got a question he wants to ask.
We have a few people who want to jump in. Okay, well let me try to make these 2 points as quickly as I can. Okay. First of all, you reminded me of something very important that I wanted to share with this audience in particular, and as a way of expressing my deep appreciation for my friend Marcus Ruiz Evans and Hal and Shankar and everybody who's working in this California movement who I've met, but also everybody on the panel before, because as a libertarian, to me that means someone who's standing up to the greatest injustice in the world. And as an activist, to me, that's someone who's engaged in the world, motivated by a deep-seated sense of injustice, that you see people suffering and you can't just drive by. And at the core of that is an unshakable faith in and love for humanity itself.
Indeed.
And what all of those, at least those 3 gentlemen I mentioned, and it sounds like everybody else on the panel earlier, it would be in this sort of inner circle of activists, if you will. But I really believe within the global human family, there is a category of us, a very small group perhaps, organized as many different groups, and the organizers of many different groups who have made the leap to live by principle and created a life purpose for themselves founded in that fundamental love for humanity. And you can tell when you meet someone else like that, you've got a sense of purpose. You're here for the right reasons. And you get it. There's a, and it's almost palpable when you're around. And I'd like to think that I'm in this category too. After all, I'm the one defining it. But when I meet someone who I feel that kinship with, it's almost like a palpable vibration of love in the air, where you can really tell that this is someone who has tapped into the deepest fundamental love for humanity they can feel for themselves and decided to invest their effort and turn it outwards and project it into the world as powerfully as they can. So that's one thing. One of my favorite compliments I've ever received was that I'm an activist. And in that sense, I think reminding people why you're an activist and giving people that grounding in that core motivation and love, if I can help with those words, give people courage and confidence in choosing a path outside of the norm, stepping out of the herd, saying, I'm not going to be a follower. I'm going to be a leader in some way, not a leader by force or by authority, but a leader by example and by education and through
Indeed.
Activism. So that's one thing. And the other thing is I didn't want to false brag here or think that I was teasing something I couldn't fulfill on here talking about gardenia. So I'll introduce this idea really quickly. I'm a homesteader, and with my wife and some other people, and unfortunately right now in my studio building that we just built here, I gotta have my 2 dogs in here because it's getting a little cold tonight.
By the way, Adam, your camera's off. We can't see you. Is that?
Oh, is that? I apologize. Give me, I guess it was because I clicked out of Zoom.
Your voice is just as powerful though.
I apologize. I wish you had told me sooner. Am I back on now?
No, because you couldn't get a word in because you're an active activist. It's great though.
Well,
doesn't matter. We saw you at the start. We saw you at the start, but you were on a roll, mate. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I know. I clicked out of Zoom because I wanted to pull up my notes, and I'll just read this.
That's okay.
Really quickly, and then I'll come back on camera.
Oh, you've gone off again. But
I know, because I got my notes up. So I'm going to read this, and I'm going to come back on because I told you I'm successfully seceded and from the United States already here on my property. I own 10 acres in the mountains of Arizona, and it's always 20 degrees cooler than Phoenix. I hate when people call it a desert. We have a lot of beautiful trees here, but I wanted to just point out that the formal title of our country is the beautiful, independent, allodial, sovereign kingdom of the Garden of Freedom in perpetuity, or the Garden of Freedom, or Gardenia for short, and residents here are known as Gardenians. And just so you get it right, you bludger, my proper title is His Benevolent Royal Highness God Emperor King Adam Charles Kokesh of Gardenia I, settler of the bountiful, independent, allodial, sovereign kingdom of the Garden of Freedom in perpetuity, first president of the United Nations of Freedom, and godfather of sapioponics. And I just say all that as a way of introducing this this micronations project that we've taken on here, which is a serious declaration of sovereignty, but at the same time, as we're creating a proprietarian constitutional monarchy. And if anybody wants to ask questions about getting into that, of course, happy to get into it. And we're you know, inspired by the Sealand, the British sea fort where people live independently now, and Molosia in Nevada, which is a semi-serious autonomous experiment, and the Conch Republic in the Florida Keys, which was, it's a fun story if anybody wants to get into this. But we are committed to nonviolence, although we are planning, we have a bulletproof financial plan to launch an independent nation and government. We are going to declare war against the United States of America, then surrender and get billions of dollars in foreign aid. So, you know, I think we're going to be set. And we want to show as an example for other people how they can follow a basic formula. And if you own your land, say, you know, effectively, I'm independent here too.
I must say, Adam, I bet you gave your teachers hell at school. you probably question and reason everything, and it's great to have a mind like yours. And the Greek word skeptic is pronounced skepsis, and it means one who questions and reasons and seeks understandings and answers, denoting to being a thinker. You're definitely a thinker, and you've thought about those. You're not just complacent, sitting down, taking it as it comes. You've thought about everything. You're like the Toto and the Wizard of Oz, pulling back the curtain, exposing what's really going on. So good on you. But I do have a question that Joe wants to ask you. And are you there, Joe?
Yeah, so we have a question coming in from Jeremy Zogby of Zogby Strategies, a well-known presidential polling company. He asks, how does the panel feel about the Transition Integrity Project that the West Coast will secede if Trump wins or refuses to leave office?
Wow. There you go, Adam. Are you there, Adam?
Adam? Maybe we could have Hal or Shankar.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, no, hey, I love it. I think it's I keep getting muted automatically. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go for it, Adam.
Okay. Yeah, just quickly, because without knowing the details, but understanding the overall mechanism here, I'm all for it. Anything that you can use as a political trigger, as an excuse to do something long overdue, if that's what it takes to motivate people, then let's do it. I don't think it's going to be any immediate practical mechanism, but it's going to be a great way for this movement to capture momentum if it goes that way with Trump resisting a loss.
Wow,
that's a crazy thing to say. That's we didn't talk about this at all in the first hour tonight. Like we and thank you to everybody. I want to point out one other thing for this crowd in particular. is that if you're here on election night and you're not playing red team, blue team nonsense, you know, we don't have a two-party system. We have a one-party system, and you get to choose between red-flavored statism or blue-flavored statism. If you recognize that this kind of activism working for the future is far more important than the most important election of your lifetimes, then thank you for having that foresight and wisdom and being a part of this instead.
Yeah.
You're like a stand-up comedian as well, almost. It's like there's a fine line between stand-up comedy and what you're doing. No, but it's great. Okay, Joe, have we got another question? Joe, we got.
I actually got something to say, Adam. I mean, just to recap what you said about starting a war with the United States and then surrendering and then grabbing their helping money, whatever they want to call it. Dude, so when we first started out, we'd had all these like brilliant, like geniuses come up with ways of seceding. And one of the other ways was to give up territory. Say you're in California, give up territory, give up Los Angeles, give up San Francisco as not part of its state anymore, and it's open territory. And the United States would have to assert that land within a certain amount of time, meaning they would have to fund San Francisco, they would have to pay for Los Angeles. And they were going to do that because that's billions of dollars that they just didn't want to do. And the minute that they didn't fund it, that's open territory. So Los Angeles would be open, San Francisco would be open. And at that point, we would declare Los Angeles independent, San Francisco, and just go city by city and take it over. That was another way of seceding, was fine. And that's constitutionally legal right there. That's perfectly legal how to do it with the Constitution. But my man, Adam, you got to listen to the dude from Alaska, man. I don't know if you heard what he said, dude, but he's all about it. They've been doing it since the 70s, man. And I can only think about you the whole time, especially with the whole localism thing. You should touch base with that guy, man. He's been doing it a very long time. I'm not sure if he's still on or not. But, yeah. Oh, and Cascadia, guys, listen, man, you guys did a presentation in Sacramento. I'm not sure who it was. Awesome presentation. I absolutely loved it, man. I became a huge fan right then and there. And I'm glad to see you guys here right now, too.
It's that you still got the flag, right? It's wonderful.
Yeah. I got the flag. I got all the patches. I got the patch on my work vest at work, my safety vest.
I think so, Kokesh was there as well. But I think what you're talking about with the federal government not funding cities, it's really interesting here in Cascadia because we have these. Trump has already declared both Seattle and Portland and also New York an honorary Cascadia member now. He's declared it these anarchist jurisdictions and has flat out started to refuse federal funding. And so they've already started to do this for, COVID preparations for our transportation authorities of refusing to give these $10 million grants to both Portland and Seattle because, they say that they're not a part. And at some point, you keep saying that and then it becomes a true thing. So I think it's interesting.
So I'm not sure if there's a Federal Reserve by you or not, if there's one up in Washington or not. But I know New York is one. As soon as that happens, seize it, my friend.
Hey guys. Zogby Polling Strategies is a well-known polling institution, and the election integrity project is a major issue right now. If we could get everyone on the panel who's a West Coast secessionist leader to address that question, I promise you it'll be media worthy. So what does the people on the panel think about the election integrity project that predicted if Donald Trump wins or does not step down, the West Coast will secede? I think it'd be relevant to see West Coast leader from that. And then we have Michael Feinstein lined up.
But I think he's going to win. In fact, I'm pretty sure Trump is going to win tomorrow. He's going to lose in a major landslide, and then he's going to win. So if that happens, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm okay with it. It doesn't matter to me. In fact, it's going to push. It's going to push. Listen, what happened when he got voted the first time is that we got inundated by hundreds and tens and thousands of people, and we're ready for it this time. So, I think they're right. Secession is more than likely to happen.
Wow. The question is, do you think, as an independence leader of a West Coast secession movement, that the election integrity project prediction is true? Trump wins, he doesn't step down. Do you think the West Coast will secede? That's what the Election Integrity Project is asking, and that's what Jeremy Zogby of Zogby Strategies is also asking. It would probably be good to get a response from everyone who's on the panel.
Adam.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm not technically West Coast here in Gardenia in the mountains of Arizona, but like when people in LA wake up, they usually leave and come this direction. And what I think is an important context to challenge the premise of your question, Marcus, and like whether it's true or not. I have so much more faith in humanity that we are eventually going to figure out that centralized bureaucratic coercive governments are not only obsolete but holding back humanity, that the future is decentralization. And you know, our dingo friend might not understand this, you know, and I've never been to Australia, but I've been to New Zealand, and that was close enough for smells purposes. So I was like, you know what, that's fine. But I look at Europe.
Is that because you like Harry Potter?
where they got that stupid accent. And in Europe, they have, you know, not only Brexit and now the Scottish independence vote, the Catalonia independence movement. I wouldn't be talking about what I'm talking about or fighting for what I'm doing if I didn't think it was the inevitable course of human progress. So to answer your question specifically, it's not if Trump screws with the results, will the West Coast secede? It's will that cause the West Coast to secede sooner than it would without that extra motivation? It is going to happen eventually anyway.
Yeah. Amen.
If I may, to give the 2-second answer to to the Zogby question, the answer is yes. Yeah, I believe the outrage in California will be palpable. Trump is not popular here in the first place. If he were to further undermine the electoral process, I mean, beyond what it's already beyond what happens to California votes, dealing with simply the Electoral College, I believe that I think that the outrage would cause a shockwave across over the next month across the electoral landscape. And I think the bump that the independence movement got in 2016 will be a ripple compared to the tidal wave.
Yes, I remember there was all those people that protested when he got in here in Los Angeles. There was thousands and thousands. I've never seen so many people in my life. And so yes, I think you might be right there. It'll be upheaval. It's going to be very interesting. I've got some of my friends that live in Beverly Hills. They're very scared at the moment. Very scared. Some of them have left California. It's interesting. But anyway, we'll see tomorrow, won't we? So, Joe, do you have any more questions from any of the viewers out there tonight that people put in earlier, as I mentioned?
Yeah, actually, I want to answer that question real quick as well. To be very brief, do I think that California will secede if Trump wins? No, because that's why we started this PAC. California's not going to leave. You need us to help get the state out. So let's do it. Let's do it. Real quick, I want to switch over to Mike Feinstein. I know he has a question. Mike, can you hear us?
Hi, everyone. Actually, I don't think I was invited to make a question, but rather to make a few comments.
Please.
So thanks to Marcus and Jason and everyone, Joe and everyone for having me. I'm not at this point committed to California leaving, but I am committed to studying the question. And I think that the ballot measure that Marcus has filed helps to do that. And why is that important? I want to distinguish, especially as a Green Party member, between Brexit and this discussion. The Green Party opposed Brexit in the UK because it was backwards. They said they're going to leave without understanding what leaving meant. And then they went through all this ridiculous parliamentary procedure for a few years, not understanding what kind of withdrawal agreement they were going to have. You don't say you're going to leave before you know what the withdrawal agreement is going to be. So what this California independence ballot measure does is it sets up a study to see what leaving would mean. So we would be informed about what we're talking about. That's the right order to do things. Number two, it forces us to look at how we're governed today and how we'd want to be governed in the future. What kind of government would we want? What kind of system would we want? And it also forces us to say what doesn't work on the national level. We've talked a little bit here about problems with the Electoral College, the fact that there's not a national popular vote, the fact that we don't use ranked choice voting in our presidential election, all those sort of things. And the size of the, how ridiculous the Senate is, that it disempowers California because you have only 2 members for 40 million people, whereas states like Wyoming have 2 members for a few 100,000 people. So all those issues would be highlighted, and we could be pushing on the United States to say, look, if you want states like California to stay, you need to revisit your democratic structures. And then for us internally, we would also want to say, and this is one of the strengths of the ballot measure, is that it looks at proportional representation elections for here inside of California. We have a terrible system where we have the worst per capita representation in the United States. We only have 120 seats for 40 million people in our state legislature. And the size of the legislature was set in 1878 when we had 865,000 people. We have 40 million today. So we would want to look at, if we were going to be independent, how big should our legislature be, and should we elect it by proportional representation instead of single seat winner take all districts? This ballot measure would bring up that conversation. And even if we stay in the United States, we should be having that discussion anyway. We heard some speakers before talking about how California is a one-party state. You can say a duopoly is 2 wings of one party, but winner take all single seat elections build those kind of dynamics. And with the wonderful diversity that we have in California here in this 21st century nation state, we should have a legislature that incorporates the diversity that's California, and what kind of electoral systems can get us there. That's what this ballot measure helps to promote as a discussion, and that's one reason why I support it.
Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you, everybody. That was well said. Thank you very much. Well, this concludes tonight. We've been going for about an hour and 40 minutes almost, and we've had some very informative speakers and opinions and ideas, and I think we can all meditate on that and get closer to our goal. So we thank you all. We thank you, Joe and Lou, and we thank all the speakers tonight, and thanks for putting this together. And please, again, this doesn't happen. We can't get this happening unless you donate. So all the people out there watching, if you want this to happen, if you want this unification to happen, because we all got to unify, and we need resources to do this, to make this a reality. So please donate. Would you like to say anything else, Joe and Lou, as a closing?
Thank you guys, everybody, for coming here. Yeah. This is our inaugural event, and we really are honored that you guys chose to be here. Not only to our panelists, but to everybody watching at home. Thank you.
Yes, please visit our website, follow, like, share, subscribe, so you can keep up to date with all the recent goings-ons, and to be one of the first few people who can hear about our next event. Stay tuned, that's going to come up. CALiberation.org. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Good night.
I'm Jason Thompson, and good evening and good night. Thank you.